Hello guys and gals, this is Hoy Fishing and I am here rebuilding a fishing rod. I've already done quite a bit and I put hours into this. It was a good rod. It's a 10-6 and I'm stripping it all down and I'm redoing it. I'm going to lighten it up and yeah, so I ended up smoothing this whole thing out. This was all coated and I ended up
You beat it up?
smoothing it all out. Yeah, so there is no more epoxy on here. And now I got the reel seat off and they did a good job putting the reel seat on. It had this plastic orb that went over the top and the reel seat actually fit on that thing really nice. It was a tight fit. Yeah, so they did a good job on that part, but I'm going to end up lightening this rod up. So I ripped it down. This rod is ending up to be a spare rod. It's a 6-12. Yeah, so 10'6". And so it's been a process getting the epoxy off of the blank, but I ended up getting it right to the graphite, and I'm leaving it just like this flat look. And I'm not going to recoat or put any more. I'm going to lighten this whole rod up. And so I used to work for Scott Fly Rods in California, Berkeley, California, and yeah, so they taught me all this. I got to watch them, and the guys that were working there, they were real awesome. They were really into their quality. Um, what went out the doors were, they were checked very thoroughly before going out the doors. Yeah, so that was really neat to see. Quality control was great. That's what I was trying to say, quality control. Their quality control was really good. So usually after a warranty on a decent rod is used up and I can't get that rod repair for some reason or another, I usually would then tear my rod apart and rebuild it. So this process right here has been taking me a little time. So I need to get all this epoxy off of there. So I got to get all that off. I ended up having to use, it's just a handheld little skill saw and a real small one, blade's about yay big. Now here it is right here. So this is what I used right there, only because I can get a depth on that, on the blade. So it was really light, a real light cut, pried it apart, everything came off nice. I know when I used to repair rods in the past, when I sit there and do this, I'll actually, when I hit the blank, usually the graphite starts coming off. And one thing I've noticed about graphite now, it doesn't cut into it as easy. I don't really know what kind of graphite this is, so that might be another reason why I'm not having issues. I think it's the graphite. So I come in here, and all I'm trying to do is get this glued down a little closer to the graphite there without chopping into it. It doesn't seem like I'm not gonna cut it. This blade is not very sharp. It's a dull blade. I always dull these things down when I start working on them. Working on my fishing rods, it's sharp enough. This here, I end up just using pliers and coming on the edge of it. And I'll grab this right here on the edge and just kind of crush it. And hit the other side and it all just comes off. I can peel it off real easily. And don't need a blade for that. But Now some rods, some blanks you cannot do this. This one here is just going across it. I'm not digging into it. It won't allow me to dig into it. Even when I'm coming across this way, and I'm tapping on that piece of this thick piece of epoxy here, I just probably have to do that. And I'm doing this really lightly. I mean, it's very lightly. And then when I'm all done, I'm going to use a really fine sander, and I'm going to wet sand it all. So right now, I'm getting the rest of this, and I'm getting it flat to the butt here, to the bottom of the cork. Let's see if I can crack it. So not at any time I'm going to take my pliers and stick it in the middle and try to break this. I bring it on the edge, and I'm just scraping, and I'm hoping that maybe there's a loose chunk in here that will just pop off for me. And if not, then it's back to the grind here. This is it. This is a finished blank right here. I'm not doing nothing else but putting my guides on here. And yeah, so putting the guides on, I'm going to do a under wrap and then put the guide on top of that, because I know there was epoxy. So I'm going to under wrap this first, and then I'm going to coat it. So that's what I end up doing. I just lightly scrape it. I polish it down. There's certain spots it still has. I might be able to just rub the rest. It's really thin, but there's these little epoxy lines here and there. But yeah, it looks like it's rubbing off, so that's what I'll do. I won't scrape on it no more. And there it is. So what I end up doing, kind of show you real closely. So a lot of times I give it a little slight tilt, and I put pressure, and I go up the rod like that when I'm scraping this off. And then when you finally hit the blank, not saying that it's not going to take off graphite. If I sat there doing this directly on the graphite and not rotating this, so I'm constantly rotating when I'm sitting here doing this. Okay, and then like right now, I'm just trying to get off these fine ones. There's some epoxy on here that is just like a little straight line. So everything I have done so far. Okay, so I've marked where my guide placement's gonna be. Okay, this is my bottom of the rod. There's the top of my rod. There's where my guides are all going to line up. And so when I came through here, I started from the bottom, and I worked, and I did my reel seat last. So I did the reel seat last, but I came in here above the reel seat here, and I took the cork off, took off the took the reel seat off, took the top cork off, the hook keeper, and then after I got this polished down and cleaned up to about here, I marked this. Then I scraped all this down. I took off a guide, and so this is where the bottom of the guide is going to be, is where the tape is. So the bottom of the guide will be right here. So, and I did this throughout the whole rod, all the way up. I did this, and you want to do that, and you want to mark it. You may even want to come up to the top, put a tape up on the top, and making sure that you put the backbone line here, so you know exactly where the top and bottom of the backbone is. And I'm putting the guides right back in the same spot. The reel seat that I'm going to put on this is actually going to be a little bit smaller than the reel seat that was on here. So that's going to lengthen up the back of my rod about a couple inches, and I think that'll be still really good, especially for those, to get more leverage on it. So I may leave that, or I'm going to cut off a little bit off the back. But I'm going to end up putting my my reel seat in the same spot that it was in. Hey, how's it going this morning? This is Hoy Fishing. I got my reel seat in, so I am going to turn the handle. I'm going to be using cork as my orbs. I'm going to let you see this here. My lathe is broken, so I got to use this old setup to turn this, and I just got it hooked up to a drill, and then I'm using that just to kind of hold the blank in place. And I've always used this throughout the years. Grind all these corks down except for this last one. I needed to add another cork to the rod, that way the reel seat ends up in the same general area as the old reel seat. I'm downsizing this reel seat, and so I'm going to put that right there. I'm going to go grab my reel seat, and that is right here. And this is what my reel seat is going to look like. So this is the front end of the reel seat, and this is the back end of the reel seat, and then it's supposed to be the blank or whatever you have in the middle that you desire, and it sits just like that. So just the reel seat alone is going to lighten this whole load up. And so for me to check this, I got to constantly bring it through the top and bring it on here. I was thinking maybe I could just leave it on here and let it spin, and I think I'll try that first, and if it doesn't do any harm to the blank, I will leave it here. Got to file all this down so that this fits. I'm trying to make this as light as I can. It's a 10-foot 6 to 12 that I am customizing. So I'm going to get busy now. It's going to make a lot of noise here. Now this is a very rough sandpaper here, just to get it down to where I need it. And this will hurry things along a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and cut that down. This is a 60 grit. And then when it gets really, really close, then I'm going to use a finer, because the middle of this is going to be exposed. So I want to make sure that middle is looking really flat and smooth. And there's my little girl. Now I'm going to go down to, this is a 110 grit. I only got like, that looks to be about a 1/16 of an inch there. This is a 150 grit. So this is my final run through on this. So we're going to take a look at this whole cork, and everything looks good. It's flat. It's looking like the rest of the rod. I mean, it looks like I got a few little high points there. Okay. And it seems to be right there. So, and everything is fitting really good up and through this area, really still tight there. I wanted to look at my cork here, see what I did here, and that looks good. This is all going to get filed down anyways. So I'm going to do a little bit more filing, and I will be using this, and I just cut this one. Nope, it ain't cutting, so I will fold it. Just like so here. And I am almost done with this. I'll put the real seat on. It'll just be dry fitted. I am not going to glue it down. But let's get this file down to where exactly where we need it. And that way we can fit this on here. Normally when I get this down to where I need it and it fits right on the front end there, that way it's going to rotate nice and it won't warp the radius or nothing. It has to fit on there a little bit for me to be able to push this down. And this is actually cutting whatever it is. I think that's like a 16th, maybe a little less of foam of cork left. And I use this to just kind of just grind that little bit off of there. And it should just slide back. And there it is. But I need to see exactly where that's going to fit, because I got a feeling I'm going to have to put one cork right up here in the front and then file that down, because that looked awfully small. Let's see here if I got all of this in the right spot, because if I can bring this down a little bit further, I will do that. And that rail seat will fit on there. And that's all I probably need right there. And it will not come off. So this would actually need to be raised up about a hair. I don't want a bigger reel going on this rod. I really don't need this cork back here to be this fat. So I will be filing a lot of this down. Getting ready to finish this up. If I was to glue this down, you've got to make sure you tape all your hardware off. Because when you start tapering in here, you don't want to scratch it up, and it will scratch it up. Just like if I took the cork off the middle here, I would have to tape this and tape up my the blank, because this will definitely cut right through your blank. So you've got to make sure you tape everything off, taping off your hardware. Usually on a size 16, you're going to have 4 orbs. I would fill the whole thing, and that way it's a perfect solid fit. Don't cut corners. Most of your issues are going to happen, if any, when making a rod is your reel seat. You can warp this all out. You can warp out the front and put on ugly guides and not coat them right, and it'll still catch your fish. But this here, you have issues with your reel seat. That's a big problem. I have one with one of my reel seats. Looks like I will be needing that. Now that I'm working on the butt section, it just doesn't want to hold very well. So I'm going to end up getting a graphite. I'm going to slide it up inside, and then I'm going to be able to clamp it onto there, and that should hold much better. Oh, let's see. I don't even know if this will fit on here. I may have to cut a little bit off of this blank. It's going to be really close to the size of this. I may need to put tape right there too to really hold it into place. So just kind of let you guys see. You may never go through the expensive. As you can come in here, we'll refurbish this cork all the way through here. That. Look how nice that looks. That thing is just looking really nice. Well, nice thing now is I can pull this whole set off. Just to see. I mean, you can see how thin this cork is now. That is way thinner. I went with the straight cork look there. So, right now, this is what I got going on. good, looking very good as is. I might thin this out a little bit more here. Gosh darn it, what a difference. I mean, just with what I got going on right here with this, and me taking off all that sanding this handle down. This thing is thin. I mean, that thing was like about that fat, you know. And I cinched that down to about there. What a light rod. That sucker is light, yo. So I think that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go ahead and file this down a little bit more. So it looks like I may have to keep this exposed so I can get the sandpaper back behind that. That way I can taper that a little bit nicer. I may do it by hand. So I got all this nice little foam dust. And this stuff can be used for all sorts of different things too. You know, especially for like these little cuts. You just mix it in with epoxy, put it in there when it starts to dry, and then you file it down. Or you use wood glue. It works really good. It's easier to sand. But yeah, you'll pick all these out and fill them. Use some filler. Pick all these out, any deep cracks. Okay, so that's what I'm going to end up doing. I'm going to taper this down a little bit more, filing this down a little bit thinner. All right, so, and that's probably as thin as I'm going to get it. Let's see here. Let's take this tape off. And I could have actually tapered that a little bit more, but it was just hard to get my sandpaper in there. So I switch that around, put the bottom hardware on actually on the bottom. Let's see what that looks like. So that's what that would look like if that was on the bottom. And it's almost flush with that. Maybe that's what I'll do. Look at how nice that looks. I gotta do a little bit of tapering on this here. I'll probably do a little bit of filing around this by hand to get that tapered look. Well, this is all I'm doing today. I'm not gluing on any hardware today. My kid's that rubber butt section fell off, and looking at the bottom of his rod, it's all cracked. It's not gonna defect the rod at all. If he wants to, we could always put that fiber tape on the bottom. That'll reinforce that area. But after you put the cork on and everything, you shouldn't have any issues. It shouldn't splinter up the rod at all, because you got epoxy in there, and that's going to stop any cracks of any kind. The cork's there to protect it. It's like a cast. So, but all in all, that's about it. So we will continue on with the rod building here at Ahoy Fishing. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, like, and share, and thumbs up. Thank you. Have a nice weekend.